Aryna Sabalenka battles through. Daniil Medvedev benefits from a disputed call at Indian Wells SF. World number 1 Aryna Sabalenka managed to fight off a strong challenge from the young Canadian star Victoria Mboko in the Indian Wells 2026 quarterfinals. Sabalenka recorded a 7-6-0, 6-4 win with a calm display and earned her third consecutive spot in the semifinals this season. The Belarusian ace has looked unstoppable the whole tournament and hasn't lost a set yet. However, Mboko, the 19-year-old who won the Canadian Open in 2025, had almost reached a point where she could have defeated the four-time Grand Slam winner. In the first set, Sabalenka showed her great form in the tiebreak by winning all 7 points, and she managed to win by 1 break in the last set. Aryna Sabalenka holds firm. Daniil Medvedev advances after a controversial call. The semifinals basically came down to Aryna Sabalenka playing really well and Daniil Medvedev winning in a way that got people talking. Sabalenka made it through a tough match and is next set to play Linda Noskova from the Czech Republic, who's the 14th seed, in the semifinals for the Indian Wells title. Daniil Medvedev made it to the semifinals by beating Jack Draper, the reigning champion, 6-1, 7-5. However, there was a controversial call by the umpire in the second set that ended up being a bigger talking point than the match itself. Draper's actions clearly showed he believed Medvedev's shot went out of bounds. The Russian player asked the umpire, Orly Turut, to check the video replay after the point. Medvedev had hit the net, and that was how the rally ended. Turut thought Draper's gesture could have upset other people because it seemed like he was challenging authority. So, she just gave the point to Medvedev. That play really helped Medvedev out when he was down 0-30. It set him up to break serve and win the match eventually. On the other hand, Jannik Sinner beat Lerner Tien 6-1, 6-2. He served up 10 aces, which really kept the 20-year-old American from getting into the match. Alexander Zverev beat Arthur Fils from France 6-2, 6-3 to advance to the next round. Aryna Sabalenka made it to the Indian Wells semifinals again. This is her second time doing so, and she got there by beating the second seed, Iga Swiatek, 6-2, 4-6, 6-4. Elena Rybakina overcame Jessica Pegula with a 6-1, 7-6, 4 win and will next face Svitolina in the semifinals. Title, grit, controversy, and the thin line of victory, Sabalenka and Medvedev at Indian Wells. The desert air of Indian Wells carries a unique tension during the final days of the tournament. Beneath the vast California sky, where the sun seems to linger over the mountains just long enough to watch every rally unfold, tennis transforms into something more than a sport. It becomes a story of endurance, nerve, and sometimes controversy. The semifinals of the 2026 Indian Wells tournament offered exactly that. A dramatic blend of resilience from Aryna Sabalenka and a debated moment that tilted fortune toward Daniil Medvedev. Together, their matches formed a narrative that reminded fans why tennis remains one of the most unpredictable and emotionally charged sports in the world. Sabalenka's battle against the elements, and herself. Aryna Sabalenka stepped onto the court carrying more than a racket and a game plan. She carried expectations. As one of the most powerful players in women's tennis, Sabalenka has built her reputation on relentless aggression, thunderous serves, blistering forehands, and an intensity that can overwhelm opponents. Yet power alone does not win matches at Indian Wells. The slow, hard courts of the desert demand patience, precision, and emotional discipline. Her semifinal match quickly turned into a test of all three. From the opening games, Sabalenka's opponent pushed her into long rallies, forcing her to construct points instead of finishing them in 1 or 2 strikes. The Belarusian star, known for her explosive style, had to adjust. Early unforced errors hinted at frustration creeping into her game. Her shoulders tightened, and the rhythm that normally defines her play seemed just out of reach. But champions are not defined by perfect moments. They are defined by how they respond when things unravel. Midway through the first set, Sabalenka steadied herself. Instead of forcing winners, she began working the court with deeper shots and heavier topspin. Her serve, one of the most feared weapons in the women's game, started landing with precision. Each ace felt like a statement. The battle was far from over. The crowd sensed the shift. Indian Wells fans are known for their appreciation of high-quality tennis, and they responded to Sabalenka's resurgence with growing enthusiasm. As rallies stretched longer and the pressure mounted, Sabalenka leaned into the challenge. Her roar after a crucial break of serve echoed through the stadium, a raw expression of both relief and determination. The match evolved into a physical and mental tug-of-war. Every game felt like a miniature war of attrition. Sabalenka chased down balls that earlier in her career she might have let go. She defended, counterattacked, and occasionally unleashed the kind of thunderous winners that reminded everyone why she sits among the sport's elite. By the final set, the contest had transformed from a tactical struggle into a pure test of will. Sabalenka, sweat-soaked and breathing heavily, refused to yield. On break point late in the set, she produced a blistering backhand down the line that left the crowd gasping. It was the kind of shot that defines big matches, a moment where courage outweighs caution. When the final point arrived, Sabalenka collapsed briefly into a crouch before raising her arms toward the sky. She hadn't simply won a semifinal. She had fought through it, through pressure, through errors, and through the relentless demands of a match that required every ounce of resilience she possessed. Medvedev's path complicated by controversy. If Sabalenka's semifinal showcased grit, Daniil Medvedev's told a more complicated story. Medvedev has long been one of tennis's most cerebral competitors. His unconventional style, deep return positions, flat ground strokes, and remarkable defensive instincts makes him one of the toughest players to break down on hard courts. But his semi-final match at Indian Wells will likely be remembered less for tactics and more for a single disputed moment. The match itself began as a high-level duel. Both players traded breaks early, probing each other's weaknesses while searching for rhythm. Medvedev's elastic defense frustrated his opponent, forcing extra shots and extending rallies well beyond what most players would consider comfortable. Still, the contest remained evenly balanced. Then came the moment that shifted the atmosphere inside the stadium. During a crucial game in the second set, with the score delicately poised, Medvedev's opponent unleashed a forehand that appeared to clip the baseline. The line judge initially called the ball out, awarding the point to Medvedev. Immediately, confusion erupted. Replays on the stadium screen suggested the ball might have caught the line. The opposing player gestured toward the mark, arguing that the shot had been in. The crowd murmured as the chair umpire reviewed the situation. But after a brief consultation, the call stood. The decision handed Medvedev a break point, and moments later, the game itself. In tennis, momentum is often as fragile as it is powerful. That single call seemed to tilt the balance of the match. Medvedev, ever the